Hi, everybody. Welcome. It's tea at the Ritz again, and here we are all gathered together. I'm not sure what the weather's doing where you are, but where I am, whew, it's hot today. So I have taken out of my wardrobe a top which I bought last year, which is actually quite nice and cool to wear. It's a cotton top. As you can see, it's white with these pale blue stripes. Let me show you it a bit. I actually bought it in Zara, and I just wanted to say that some of you may have got sort of run away with the idea that I spent a fortune on blouses and so on and so forth, like the Pizzuki one that I've shown you this week, and I absolutely don't. I look all over the place for clothes. I feel that one of the biggest challenges of being a woman over 70, as I am now, is to find clothes that I like, which are in nice fabrics, that fit me, that I actually want to wear, that go with the other things in my wardrobe, all the usual concerns that we have when we go shopping. And so I take a fairly eclectic approach to that, and I will pop into shops like Zara, which I think are definitely aimed at the more fashion-conscious, younger end of the spectrum than me. But every now and again I get lucky, and I've actually got quite a few things in my wardrobe from Zara, which are definitely not expensive. In fact, I think I got this in the sale for something like £10. It was crazy. It was a crazy price, but it's lovely. And on a day like today, when it's really hot, it's good to wear. I'm also wearing a pair of sort of off-white, pale cream Zara trousers, and I certainly find that trousers in Zara in their large size, which equates to a 14, fit me beautifully, and at around £29.99 I think they're an absolute bargain. Throw them in the washing machine, they wash beautifully, and they're good staples for my wardrobe. I'm also wearing, because I know you like to know, a rather pretty necklace which I bought in the Victoria and Albert Museum shop. They have some amazing jewellery in there. I think this was something like £20, but you can see how pretty it is if I get close. It's got a little pearl in the middle, and it's got these sort of decorative sparkles around it, and what looks like stones in different colours of blue, and then it's on this this grey satin band thing that's going around my neck, and I've teamed it today with some very conservative earrings. You may be surprised to know that I wear pearl studs every now and again, but I do. I have nothing against pearl studs, I just don't find them usually particularly fun and interesting to wear, but today I thought they went well with what I'm wearing. So I hope you approve, and as I said, I'm very much telling you all this because it's important to correct the record that you think that I'm only interested in showing you extremely, high-end, expensive fashion items. I'm not. That's not what I wear all the time, and but I do occasionally indulge, as I did with the Pizzuki blouse. Today, I thought I'd carry on the theme of this week, which I started exploring with you on Monday, around friendship with other women, and also picking up on what I talked to you about yesterday, which was about mental health awareness week, because I think the two actually dovetail quite beautifully. Where would we be in terms of our mental health without close female friendship? Now, the other day I talked to you about sort of fellowship in the sense of joining groups. So women that have made a decision for one reason or another, maybe because they've just had a baby, or that they want to discuss books, or they're in some kind of business networking group, that they would find powerful resonance with a group of women, like-minded women within that group. And that has certainly been true for me throughout my life, and I found those groups enormously helpful. But the background for me in terms of female friendship have been certain people, individuals, who have enormously enriched my life for one reason or another, and are still doing so. And what has been interesting in lockdown, I'm sure you found this as well, are those people that I've wanted to talk to, that I've wanted to phone and chat with and discuss what's happening, and so on and so forth, because they are particular friends, particular closeness that I have with them that makes those conversations very satisfying and actually supportive of my mental health. And I do think that that's really why we are missing these people in our lives, because we can't go out to dinner with them and meet up with them and see them, but we can chat to them on the phone or perhaps in some kind of Zoom conversation. So I've kind of divided my female friends into 3 groups. And given some consideration to what they have, what I mean by that, and also, what those people have meant to me. And I'm going to start with something that I think happens to a lot of us, and that is friends for a particular moment in our lives, and then we move on. Our lives move on in some way, shape or form, and those friends kind of fall by the wayside. In fact, we had a rather sad little statement on Super Troopers, and she said, "I seem to have lost touch with most of my friends and they're not there now when I need them." But I don't think we should beat ourselves up about those friends that we haven't kept in touch with, because they were for a particular time, and that time has moved on. I'll give you a really good example of that. When I was 18, I left home for the first time, and I went to live in London at university college, which was in Goldsmiths College in southeast London. I was there to train to become a school teacher. And of course, when I got there, I immediately met a whole group of friends. And I wonder if any of you have been watching Normal People, which I found brilliantly moving, in fact, as a series on television. I thought it was absolutely beautiful. It's a love story between Marianne and Connell in Ireland, who are friends at school but secret friends, and then they carry on that friendship at college. And it reminded me when I was watching it, it's incredibly moving, and also in relationship to mental health, it's very, very interesting what it has to say about male mental fragility. But that time at college, it evoked that for me again. But this was with female friends that I met there, women, girls as they were, and for 3 years we spent lots of time together, and we were firm and fast friends. And there were 2 in particular who were friends with each other, with whom I was friends. In fact, I shared accommodation with them for one of the years that I was at college. However, after college, not long after college, I got married. I moved down to Hampshire, and I lost touch with them both. And I suppose from time to time I felt sad, but had I wanted to, I could have got in touch with them, and I didn't, because my life had moved on. I was in a completely different place geographically, and they had been friends at college. However, what happened then was that one of them contacted me fairly recently. So she'd made, I think she'd been a customer of ours for about 2 years, and had suddenly clicked that Tricia Spencer, as I was at college, was actually Tricia Cusden, founder of this makeup brand that she'd been buying for some time. So she emailed us and said, can you please pass this on to Tricia? And I was delighted to hear from her. So 50 years has gone by since I knew her. And the amazing thing was she had stayed in touch with the other friend from college, and they're still very close to each other. So their friendship had lasted. So I met them for lunch, and it was brilliant to see them. Amazing to see somebody with a 50-year time lapse, but I would have recognised them anywhere. And we had a brilliant lunch together, loved chatting to them. And I came away thinking, I do know why they were friends of mine at college, because they haven't changed, and they were terrific company, and it was brilliant to see them and hear all about their lives. So transitional friends, those that we have for a period of time and then for one reason or another don't have them in our lives anymore. The second is a bit more painful. And that is what I call transitory friends. So you think that you have a good, firm, fast relationship with these people, these women, and for one reason or another you fall out. And that falling out can be quite painful, in fact, very painful. So it certainly happened to me. In one instance, the relationship was cut quite dramatically by the other person, and I've never really understood why. I've tried, but it is the way it is, and I've managed to let it go. In another instance, it was me that cut the relationship. I decided that there were more negatives to positives in that relationship, and I felt that as an act of almost self-preservation, I needed to say no more. I don't need this in my life. I don't need this person in my life. So I cut that particular ties that had bound us quite closely. And in another instance, it was a kind of drifting apart. I've tried to get in touch with that person, had no response. So these things, as I said, they can wound, they can be painful, they can be upsetting, hurtful, all of that stuff. But ultimately in life, I think you have to become philosophical about things like that and just say, whatever it was, it happened, fine. Think about it, think what you can learn from it, and then move on. And finally, the most fabulous of all friendships are those that last and last and last and become integral to everything, really, our psyche, our emotional health, and the value that we place on certain relationships. And I'm talking about people outside our family now. Obviously, within our family, we can have firm friendships with people, but these are people that we are choosing to have in our lives. We don't choose our family, but we definitely do choose our friends. And I have three particular friends, and I'd like to talk about them now. I know one of them will be watching this, but I know she won't mind me talking about her. So the first one is somebody who I've known probably for about 25 years, and I met her through a business relationship initially, and then we became friends, and I got to know her husband and family, and I'm sort of a surrogate grandmother to her children. She had her children a bit later, certainly, than I did. Her first child was born when she was 39, her second when she was 40, and her two kids have meant a huge amount to me. I absolutely adore them. They're now sort of early 20s, and I'm a sort of surrogate grandmother, and that relationship means an awful lot to me. But their mum, when I was going through my deepest, darkest distress with India that year after she was born, was the most kind and phenomenal support to me that I could possibly begin to tell you. She one night I rang her very, very late. It was probably near to midnight, and I was in an extreme distress. During the day, I'd been trying to work out whether India could see or not. She wasn't fixing and following, and her eyes looked very unfocused and undirected when she was awake, which was only very occasionally. And I just got convinced myself during the day that she was blind. And it upset me terribly. I mean, terribly, all the other things that the poor child was going through. And I just thought, maybe she's blind. So I came home, got myself into the most terrible state about it. And in a terrible state, rang my friend. And she was absolutely brilliant. I mean, yes, of course she was kind, but she said something to me so profound. I have never forgotten it, and I think it was the best thing she could have said. And she said to me, "Tricia, you're in a situation that you cannot control. India may be blind, but she may not be blind. But either way, you can't do anything about it. So right now, you have to surrender to this situation and just say, that's the way it is." And she stopped me in my tracks. I put down the phone from her and I sat very quietly thinking about what she'd said. And I thought, that is so true. Now I must surrender. And from that moment, I started to surrender. This situation was not going to go away. It was not going to be resolved by my distress. It was only going to be ameliorated by a quiet sitting with the situation and getting on with it. My second friend I want to talk about is somebody I met in Ireland on a very special course that we were both attending. We were both trying to come to terms with various things that were happening in our lives. Mine, it was the sort of post-divorce period of my life. And I'd been told about this amazing course in Ireland that was going to be in Ireland, in Dublin. I went along and met there a friend who is still, I'm still very close to all these years later. That was in 1994. And she is an absolute delight. Every year she comes down and stays with me in France, in the house that I have there. And we have the most amazing time. We talk from the moment we get up to the moment that we sort of leave each other at our respective bedroom doors, and we're still chatting. We talk and talk and talk, and I have never had such satisfaction and pleasure out of a relationship with another woman as I have with her. It's just absolutely brilliant. And finally, a friend that I've had since childhood. So somebody who was born the same time as me, around the corner from me, in a small town in Suffolk where I was born. And this friend has literally lived her life in parallel with mine, or vice versa. We went to school together, we went to college in London together at the same time, different colleges but both in London, so we would travel up and down in our Mini to get to college. She got married very similar time to me. She's managed to stay married and I haven't, but we had children first time within 24 hours of each other. She gave birth first and the next day I gave birth to my Anna. The next time we had children, we did it 2 months apart. Her mum died about 2 months before my mum died, and her dad died just before my dad died. And actually, we were grieving for our parents at exactly the same moment. We're still very close. She lives a long way away from me, but we talk and communicate often. And it's a 72-year friendship. And not many people can say that, but the meaning that she has in my life is utterly profound. If I ever fell out with her, I really would know that I was a terrible person and it would break my heart. So female friendship is so powerful, and we should absolutely acknowledge the importance of it, I think, for all of us, for our mental health, particularly at this minute when we need support, and how valuable it is. I want to finish with a poem which is called Atlas. I think it's meant to be about a particular kind of husband, which sounds strange to use in relationship to this, but I think that this is sort of what good friendship is. And the Atlas, which is the title of the poem, is the one that holds up the world. So it's Atlas. There is a kind of love called maintenance, which stores the WD-40 and knows when to use it, which checks the insurance and doesn't forget the milkman, which remembers to plant bulbs, which answers letters, which knows the way the money goes, which deals with dentists and road fund tax and meeting trains, and postcards to the lonely, which upholds the permanently rickety, elaborate structures of living, which is Atlas. And maintenance is the sensible side of love, which knows what time and weather are doing to my brickwork, insulates my faulty wiring, laughs at my dry, rotten jokes, remembers my need for gloss and grouting, which keeps my suspect edifice upright in air, as Atlas did the sky. So I don't have a husband like that, but I do have friends like that who have that kind of love that holds up the sky. and it certainly does for me. So I hope you enjoyed that little musings on my behalf on about, as I said, female friendship. And tonight when we've got perhaps a glass in our hand, let's toast all those women that have come into our lives and are still there to help us and to support us and to love us. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Bye bye.